Right now, I want you to focus on imagination. Everything you might need to create anything you want to create is there.
The imagination is literally the workshop wherein are fashioned all plans. The impulse, the desire, is given shape, form, and action through the aid of the imaginative faculty of the mind.
You may remember when we started, I pointed out this whole series was about you. Now think about this. I'm going to ask you to activate your imagination in this particular lesson because it's about imagination. I also quoted Einstein, and I pointed out that he said our intuitive mind was a sacred gift, while our rational mind was an obedient servant. He said we've reached a point in society where we honor the servant and we've forgotten the gift. See, it's the intuitive mind that Einstein was referring to that separates us from all the rest of life. It puts us above everything. We're the highest form of creation on the planet, so far as we know. And it's only through the use of these higher faculties that we can demonstrate the genius that lies within every one of us. Genius isn't something that's given to one and not another. Genius is something that's developed. It's something we have within us. But if we're going to develop the genius within us, we have to begin developing the higher side of our own personality. You know, I have 3 little dogs at home. They can all see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Now think about that. All the other form of animal life can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. But we've got higher faculties, and these are the faculties that give us the ability to create our environment. You'll also probably remember where I pointed out we're the only creature on the planet that is totally disoriented in our environment. All the rest of the little creatures, they blend in. They're completely at home in their environment. We don't blend in. And we don't blend in because we have been given the ability to create our own environment. You see, the environment that you're in, the environment that I'm in, we have created it. We may say, oh no, I wouldn't have done that. Well, the truth is you really have. You've heard that you know the truth and the truth will set you free. Well, let's understand the truth about what we have working in our favor. All we have to do is activate these higher powers. Now you have perception, a phenomenal mental tool. You shift your perception, you've changed all of life. Think of that. Wayne Dyer pointed that out very clearly. Wayne said, when you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. He's right. Perception. We can look at anything from a different angle. Great way to solve problems. You have reason. Reason is what gives us the ability to think. One of the highest functions that we're capable of. We can just take a mental faculty, pluck into the no thing, and build thoughts. And put them together, we can build ideas, and then we can create the ideas. And of course, we have the imagination, which we're going to go into. Take a look around you. Look at everything around you that was made by a man or woman. It was all created first in the imagination. See, the truth is everything's created twice. Once in the mind, and then once in our material world. Van Gogh was asked one time how he did such beautiful work. He said, I dream my painting, and then I paint my dream. Do you know, we can do that. You have the will. The will's a phenomenal mental tool. You know that if you're going to win at anything, you've got to stay focused on it. And focus is not an easy thing for the average person. You know, we all respond to outside stimuli, and there's so much of it going on around us. There's noises and sounds and lights and goodness knows what. They all activate cells in our brain. It causes mental activity. Only when you're focused, you cut all that out. It's almost like you shut your senses down when you focus. It almost sounds like a choice to do it. You know, no. The will is what gives us the ability to stay focused. And if you're going to build a rocket that will take a person to the moon and bring it back safely to Earth, there's going to have to be a lot of focus. Not just by one, definitely by the leaders, and then by all the important players on the team. You've got to be able to lock onto one idea. Most people do not know how to do that. The average person's span of concentration is in seconds. Go ask any advertising people, they'll tell you that. And it seems to be shortening every day. but we can stretch it. We can get to a point where we can focus on one thing for a long period of time. And you know, it's through focus that you get power. Power flows into our consciousness and it flows out. When you're focused, the power increases in amplitude of vibration. You're giving more energy to whatever it is that's growing. And Emerson made it very clear one time. He said, the only thing that can grow is the thing you give energy to. You've got memory. Do you know there's no such thing as a bad memory? You'll often hear people say, I just can't remember that. Everyone has a perfect memory. Jerry Lucas, ex-pro basketball player, was out on the West Coast a number of years ago teaching people how to memorize the Bible. We had a man, Abdullah, who was a psychiatrist from Saudi Arabia, come over here to one of our programs one time. He was teaching people to memorize the Quran. There's no such thing as a bad memory. There's weak memories. You see, the memory, the will, the imagination, these are all mental muscles. And you can exercise them and they become very strong. And last but not least on this list is intuition. I have developed a fairly highly evolved intuition, but only because I chose to. And if I can, you can. Like I can walk by a person, I can pretty well tell you what they're like. Because everything goes on the inside, shows on the outside. You show it through vibration, you see. And it's your intuition that breeds that. Right now, I want you to focus on imagination. But to focus on the imagination and use it properly, I think we have to bring all of them into play. Where the senses help you correspond with the material world that you are a part of, as long as you live in your physical body and correspond and communicate with the physical world, you'll use your senses. But if you want to go beyond the physical, if you want to go where you have never been, if you want to go where no person has ever been, you must use your higher faculties. There's only two sources of reference you can go to find out anything about yourself. One science and one theology. And if you dig deep enough, you're going to find that they mostly all teach pretty much the same thing. They teach one God. Scientist says there's just energy. Everything's energy. Nothing rests. As we start to dig into it, now this isn't a lesson on religion. First of all, I'm not qualified to do that, nor is it a lesson in science. This is a lesson in helping you understand you. It was put together by a man that spent his entire life studying 500 of the world's most advanced and most productive individuals. So the information that you're getting is sound. It's been used by people probably much brighter than ourselves and used successfully. Now, when you use these higher faculties, what you're doing, you're leaving this physical world and you're diving into universal intelligence. All science and all theology both clearly indicate nothing is created or destroyed. Think about that. Nothing is created or destroyed. All the knowledge there ever has been or ever will be is already here. All the power there ever has been or ever will be is already here. So you got all the power, all the knowledge, that's 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. That would be within you, or that would be within me. How do we reach it? Well, we have to leave the physical world, per se, and take these higher faculties and dive into it. And that's really what you're doing when you start imagining things. You can sit quietly in a room and look around the room, then close your eyes and rearrange all the furniture. And some people do that. In fact, some people make a living out of doing that. You can take and look at a sheet of paper that has nothing on it and mentally go into your imagination and then start to draw a picture of the building that you say you're going to build. You see where I'm going? You do see where I'm going. Let's take the clothes you're wearing or the jewelry that you have on. Where did it come from? It came from the marvelous minds of individuals. I remember when I was a child, there were no synthetic fibers, and I lived in northern Canada. It was cold. Snow was deep. And when they put us outside, they had so many clothes on us we could hardly walk. But we needed those clothes to keep warm. Today, you can put something as thin as an onion skin on a child and put them out in sub-zero weather and they'll be warm. Where did that come from? Oh, it was already here. Somebody created this kind of coverings for clothes in their imagination, and then they went ahead and created it on the physical plane. Now you can do that. The clothes you're wearing were first created in the mind of the person. What do you want? What do you really want? Don't compromise. Compromise leads to more compromise. Put yourself into a totally relaxed state. Let your mind wander. And understand when you do that, you are leaving the conscious world and you're going into this subconscious. see of everything. It's the universal intelligence. Now, many people think there's hundreds of names that you can put on this part of life, but it is universal intelligence. It's a pure spiritual field. It's where all knowledge and all power is. And we can go there. I happen to believe we were created in God's image. And probably you do too. The problem we have is how we created God. What is God? We created God in our image. But if we go the other way and we start to understand that we've got all this power and we've got all these faculties, where does it start? It starts to create the kind of life we want in our own mind with our imagination. And it's with our imagination that we fantasize. And all creation begins in the form of fantasy. That's where we just freely let our mind wander in this part of life where everything is. All the beauty, all the things, everything you might need to create anything you want to create is there. And you just have to build a picture of the end result you want. How do you want to live? Where do you want to live? Who do you want to associate with? What kind of health do you want to enjoy? What kind of a financial situation do you want to live in? What kind of a business do you want to build? Right now, the director of this particular series is building images in his mind of how he will edit, how he will add the B-roll, all the backdrops. He'll add it all in. And what you're watching now is a long ways from where I am right at this moment. First of all, it's miles away, and it's off into another place, another part of life. Well, that's where you want to go, and that's what you want to do. Do you know, it's been said the imagination is the greatest nation in the world. It goes beyond nations. It is what brings all nations together. It's what makes us all the same. And if we would understand that, then there's no need of competition. Competition is a dumb game. Amateurs compete, professionals create. We're creative beings. Just know that any part of your business, any part of your life, you can take your imagination and you can go way beyond where you're at. And you can build these images, you can dig into it, and it's phenomenal. All knowledge, all power is there. So when you sit down, talk to your body, tell it to relax. You might start by telling your jaw to relax. Do it right now. You weren't even aware your jaw wasn't relaxed, are you? Let your stomach muscles, let all the abdomen, let it all hang out. Doesn't that feel good? It does feel good, doesn't it? Then let this relaxed feeling just sort of wash through your whole being. Just visualize a beautiful lavender energy pouring right into the crown of your head, and it moves through every fiber right out your toes. And as it does, you move into a very relaxed state. And in this relaxed state, just let your eyes go closed. And then let your mind dive into this area where all knowledge and all power is. And begin building a picture of what you want, finished, complete, and you're enjoying it. And you're sharing it. And make sure you share it. You don't share it, you don't enjoy it. Learn to willingly give and graciously receive. But know this, whatever it is in your life you want to improve, that's where you start. And understand this, there's no reason why you cannot. You're the only one that can stop you from doing this. No one can do it for you, and no one can stop you. So we're going to dig into this beautiful area of universal intelligence where everything is, and we are going to build in our mind the picture of the life we want. Now, it may be specific and zeroed right in on your business. It may be specific and zeroed right in on the health of your body. Understand this, there's no such thing as incurable disease. That's a misnomer. There's only disease that we haven't created a cure for. But also understand this, the mind is where everything originates. And all things are possible. My goodness, there's enough evidence around it. We've got to be able to believe that today. All things are possible for you. What is it you want to improve? That's where you start. Lock into it. Fall in love with it. Love is when you bring something together. When two people are in love, they have a strong rapport intellectually. They love talking about the same ideas. They have a strong rapport emotionally. Their feelings are in sync. they're on the same frequency. And then, of course, they have a strong physical relationship. Well, when you're in love with an idea, you're intellectually involved, you're emotionally involved, and it is control of your body. There's nothing like it. It's called an ideal. And that is really what success is all about. It's the professional way of looking at things. Is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Begin with your imagination. Begin using it properly. Don't let it lay dormant. Most people use their imagination for something they don't want. They start worrying and they build a picture of what they don't want. Don't do that. Absolutely refuse to do that. Say, I'm never going to go where I don't want to go. And certainly not in your imagination. You'll be creating it. Only imagine what you do want. Image, imagination, think. Everything you're going to improve starts out in an image. Present tense, get emotionally involved, and you'll find your body will just move toward it. And as you move toward it, it's going to begin to move toward you. Use your imagination effectively, creatively, productively. Do you know, our only limitation is the limitation that we put on our imagination or the lack of use of the imagination. Now, there's something else about imagination that you really want to understand. There's two forms of imagination. There's creative imagination and there's synthetic imagination. The creative imagination is where you start with nothing but pure energy, diving into this universal pool where all knowledge and all power lies. And you're creating something in your mind that no one has ever created before. You're bringing something into the physical world that no one's ever done. That is creative imagination. Synthetic imagination is where someone may look at a chair and they think, that's pretty good. I think I'll put two of them together and we'll call it a love seat. I think we'll maybe put three of them together and cover them in soft cushions, and we'll call that a sofa. That's synthetic imagination. That's where someone looks at a dress and they think, if I just change the alterations on that a little bit, it would look so much nicer on her. That is synthetic imagination. See, the synthetic imagination is taking something that is and improving or changing it. I've often wondered about who the cat was that created the first chair. I would imagine somebody was sitting on a log at one time and had nothing to lean against, so he thought he'd put a back on it, and that may be the first chair. And ever since then, we've been improving. We got rocking chairs and swivel chairs and high chairs, low chairs, double chairs. But synthetic imagination is every bit as effective as creative imagination. The only difference being is that you're using something that already is and improving on it. Creative imagination, when you're taking something that never was and you're bringing it into life. I like the creative imagination from a work perspective. I always work in my business of trying to do something nobody's ever done in our industry before. I compete with no one. I'm not quite sure what anybody else in our business or industry is even doing. I know a few of the people, but I know they're not doing what I'm doing because they're not me. And I'm not doing what they're doing because I'm not them. But I do like to create something that I feel is brand new. And I believe what we're doing here is something that's brand new. We have taken Napoleon Hill's 13 principles, and he said these are the 13 principles that must be used if you're going to create great wealth. But no one's ever brought it to life, so far as I know. And that's what we're doing here. There's a team of us here that want you to have this so that you can have the life that you truly and richly deserve. But you're never going to have it if you don't use your imagination. And we want you to have it, so start using your imagination right now. And I don't care whether it's synthetic or creative, just make your life better. Life can be so good. And you know something? It can get better. I like better. It's such a nice word. Doesn't matter how good things are, we can make them better with our imagination.
Ideas are intangible forces, but they have more power than the physical brains that gave birth to them. Get out your notebook, write imagination in capitals at the top of the page. And then I'm going to use this principle in the following way. and then finish that sentence in your notebook. Don't overthink it. Just tune into your own powerful intuition and record on paper what comes to you. Do it now.